Welcome. I'd like to call the March 2019 meeting of the Lenoir County Board of Education to order, please. And I'll recognize Mr. Nick Harvey for our invocation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let us pray. May the words spoken in this room tonight be beneficial to the students, parents, staff, and administrators in our school system. And may we be led by the guiding principle to always base our decisions on the best interests of our young people. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. If everyone will please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll recognize Superintendent Williams for the approval of the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's my honor and privilege to present to you tonight for your consideration and hopefully approval tonight's agenda.
Motion to approve board agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Hill and a second by Mr. Smith. All in favor of approval of the agenda, please raise your right hand. All right, thank you. Next item are board chair comments. I've just got a couple quick ones. I'd like to personally thank the staff at Northwest School. They invited me to read on Friday to a classroom of fourth graders, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Very well behaved, paid attention, and it was a fun event. I saw some of my board members there. Saw several folks from the community there as well. So I'd like to thank Northwest for the invitation, and I think the kids, maybe they paid close attention because I did take them some cookies, so that might have helped. But they were very well behaved, and I really enjoyed it. And just real quickly, I'd just like to thank our state legislators from our area. They are doing a tremendous job for us. That would be Senator Davis, Senator Bell, Senator Perry, and Representative Humphrey would be four that I could speak of very highly that are just working hard for Lenoir County Public Schools as well as other school systems, but especially ours. I can say firsthand, with firsthand knowledge, how hard they're working for us. I know some of our board members can as well, Superintendent Williams. So I'd just like to publicly acknowledge their hard work and thank them for what they're doing for Lenoir County Public Schools.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I can echo what Mr. Chairman is saying, and tonight we're going to hear a presentation about moving forward with storm recovery, hurricane recovery, and after all these months, it's good to finally be able to get started with that. We've done some of it, but the bulk of the work required significant state underwriting and state funding, and we're able to do that starting tomorrow, actually. The process will begin, and we've been working on that for months, but we can move forward with funding now thanks to the North Carolina General Assembly and the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction using General Assembly underwriting of funding and allocations in round 3. And we were notified at the end of this past week that we've been approved for that. We do want to thank the members of the General Assembly, particularly Representative Humphrey and Senator Jim Perry for their help. And as he noted, other representatives in the area, and even though they don't officially, we're not in their district anymore. Senator Davis and Representative John Bell have both been outstanding, strong, consistent advocates for us, and we want to thank them. They certainly helped in these endeavors last week and continue to help us. So we send them our thanks. It's my pleasure tonight to let you know that we are busy in all of our schools, in our classrooms. Our teachers and our principals and our other educators are working very, very hard each day to make meaningful learning opportunities a daily reality for the students we serve. February was Black History Month. Tonight you'll be treated to a presentation about all of the wonderful activities that have been going on during the month of February, really throughout the year, but a spotlight month for February. And you'll see that with two principals tonight from each grade spans, elementary, middle, and high, presenting a summary, a showcase of the activities, programs, speakers, and learning opportunities taking place in our classrooms to commemorate and celebrate National Black History Month. Elizabeth Pierce, our regional principal of the year and current principal of E.B. Frink Middle School in LaGrange, went last week for her Principal of the Year interview for the state level for the North Carolina Principal of the Year competition. And today she had a film crew, there she is, she had a film crew on campus today filming her. They were doing a spot with each of the 8. Mrs. Pierce is one of the top 8 principals in North Carolina, according to NCDPI, and we could not agree more. I think she has a very strong chance. I think she's going to win it. I told her today that we'll just speak it into reality already, and it actually happening and coming to fruition in May is just a technicality, right, Ms. Pierce? She was a little nervous about the interview last week and the video today, and I said, you just be you, and you will be outstanding. So thank you, Ms. Pierce, for all that you're doing and for leading that school and our kids every single day. Friday was Read Across America Day, and it was a day of culminating activities for a week-long celebration of reading in our schools, and many wonderful activities. And we, in all 17 of our schools, we had different types of activities, and that looks a little bit different, of course, in the high school than it does the elementary school. But some really fun activities from the elementary school celebrating Dr. Seuss's birthday and Read Across America Day with dignitaries, elected officials, many of our board members, county commissioners, state level representatives. Representative Humphrey was out there, and many other parent volunteers, many of you out there reading to our kids. So we appreciate your interest in supporting our kids by being in those classrooms and volunteering your time. That means a lot to us. So thank you very much. Everything from Cat in the Hat to the Sneetches and the Grinch. It was a day of good fun and celebration of literacy. So we thank you for that. This is National School Breakfast Week. Ms. Danielle Smith, our Director of Child Nutrition, is celebrating with her team, and we're all celebrating the importance of a good breakfast in kicking off the school day and learning in our schools. This also is National Severe Weather Awareness Week in the schools, and you know we'll have our statewide tornado drill this week. That's a scheduled drill, so we can think around that, but we need to be ready for anything that happens, and certainly this is a week when we pause and we focus extra attention on being ready, preparedness, and the role of preparation in getting ourselves ready to respond to whatever happens in the way of severe weather. We might not can prevent it, but we can be as ready as possible for whatever happens. On Friday, we were treated to a meeting with Suddenlink Corporation, now purchased by the Altice parent corporation. They came to Southeast Elementary School to present a grant for $500 to 2 of our classroom teachers. One of them was the Regional Teacher of the Year runner-up, Ms. Cherry. And they were in those classrooms, and they listened. The most important thing is they were treated to presentations by our students, and our students gave presentations that they had created using their iPads, interactive multimedia presentations. I can't tell you how proud I was of our students that they were impressing these folks, and the senior district vice president for Suddenlink was in there and truly impressed with our kids and what they're doing. Folks, digital learning is real. In Lenoir County Public Schools, we hosted the superintendents in the region week before last, and they affirmed what we already knew. Lenoir County Public Schools is a leader in the region in digital learning. I couldn't be more proud of what our students and staff members are doing every day. And moving on, and it's not a technology initiative, it is about learning. And that's something, it's an article in the newspaper today, and Ms. Lynch is quoted as saying that is indeed our mantra every day. Make it about learning and not the device. The device enables the learning. Tonight it is my honor to present some commendations, some awards, recognition of awards and achievements of our students. A number of them. First, we will begin with Nigel Wilkins, a student at Kinston High School. Nigel is a state level winner. The North Carolina High School Athletic Association 2A state title in the triple jump event was won by our very own Nigel. He jumped 46 feet 3 inches. The championship meet was held at the J.D. JDL Fast Track in Winston-Salem. He is coached by Corey Bryant and Crystal Bryant. At this time, as Nigel comes forward, I'd like to ask our board chair and vice chair to help us recognize him and your two coaches. I would like for Mr. Bryant and Mrs. Bryant, a brother and sister dynamic all-star duo of coaches, to come forward and let us recognize them with applause. Nigel's mom is here. If you would stand, please, we'd like to recognize the parents. Let's give her a round of applause. So 46 feet, right?
3 inches.
Can't
leave 3 inches.
More members said they could do it.
I bet you can't I can only get about 44. I can only get about 44 back in the day. That's a long way. What about now? About 3 inches. About 4 inches.
Any advice to us in training for track? How can we get there? Work hard.
Work hard.
8 of our middle and high schools posted 38 top 5 finishes during the Region 10 Science Olympiad competition held in February at Lenoir Community College. Students typically compete in 2-person teams. The team of Caleb Wilson, Devin Liker from South Lenoir High School finished first in the Anatomy and Physiology competition and will advance to the State Science Olympiad in April. Mr. Ryan Gardner and Ms. Sarah York are their advisors. We would like for Caleb and Devin to come forward with Mr. Gardner and Ms. York. If you're here, we'd like for you to come forward and be recognized too. Let us give them a round of applause.
No, we're good.
Now, as we talk about progress for the school system, I do want to call attention to all in attendance that just 5 years ago, we had only 2 schools that had ever participated, not one, participated in Science Olympiad. We have 17 schools in LCPS. We have made this a strategic focus. Our Board of Education has made this a focus and a priority. And as such, for the last 4 years, I'm proud, this is year 4, to let you know that 17 out of 17 of our schools have participated, and 17 out of 17 of our schools have won in at least one regional event. This year made 17. We had 16 of 17 last year, which is outstanding. This year we have 17 of 17, and we'll keep going higher and higher. But we had a dominant presence at the regional Science Olympiad, and we certainly intend for that to continue. So congratulations to the kids. Technology Student Association students from Catania Savannah K-8 School Tech Bowl team won 3rd place at the regional competition in Goldsboro. Those students are Jackson Heath, Matthew Hill, and Jared Carlisle. Tech Bowl tests students' knowledge of a wide range of technology skills in a preliminary written test, and for those teams that advance, in head-to-head question and answer competition. Ms. Stephanie Harrell was the club's advisor. TSA, or Technology Student Association, competitions test student skills in more than 30 technology-related areas. The Goldsboro event drew middle and high school TSAs from counties east of Guilford County. So that's a pretty wide area. These guys have done so well, and they really dominated that competition. So we would like to ask them to come forward, please. Jackson Heath, Matthew Hill, and Jared Carlisle. I'm told they are the dynamic trio. So let's give them a round of applause. Now, we just told you about Science Olympiad. Our district has made a central focus the study of science and science instruction, science in the round, science in the classroom every day, all day. Now, Science Olympiad is one outlet for our students to compete and to show their learning, to demonstrate and extend their learning, but so is the Science Fair. And Science Fair is what most of us of a certain age remember when we were coming through school, right? So we still have the traditional Science Fair, and guess what? Our kids have been dominant at the Science Fair at the regional level as well. Our kids competed at the school level, they competed at the district level, and they competed and they have won big at the regional level. So tonight it's our pleasure to recognize them for their accomplishments as well. 10 LCPS elementary and middle school students will take their Science Fair projects into state competition after winning honors at the Northeast Region Science and Engineering Fair in Greenville at East Carolina University in February. The 10 winners represented 9 projects, a record number for LCPS in this competition. I'm so proud that we continue to increase our numbers of winners and the number of events that we're entering each year. First, we'll call the elementary winners forward, and I'll call each name, and then guys, if you'll come forward and stand up here, we'll come around and present certificates, and our board members will come and will honor you with applause. Adam Garcia from Pink Hill Elementary School won 2nd place. Let's give Adam a round of applause. Adam, how you doing? Christian Wiggins from Northwest Elementary School won 3rd place. Honorable mention winners were Marissa Doyle of LaGrange Elementary, Coleman Taylor of Pink Hill Elementary, and Silas Rigsby of Moss Hill Elementary. If you guys would come forward, please. Additionally, Liam Barwick of Moss Hill won 2nd place and a $30 award in the Water Works and Water Environment Association Award competition. So if Liam would come forward, please. Now, if the parents of these certificate winners could stand up, please, and I neglected to say that before, we certainly want to applaud the parents because children in the school system myself. Let's be honest, parents. When there's a science project to be done, the kids are going to do it. We know that. We can see that. But it's a team effort, right? So we salute you and we thank you too. Great job, guys. Now, in the middle school division, advancing to the state competition at North Carolina State University are Eli Kearney, Frink Middle School, first place winner in the physics category. Eli, if you come forward. Natalie Aguilar Tornorio and Jamie Flores, Contentnia Savannah K-8 School, second place in Bioscience B category. Austin Williams, Frink Middle School, second place in Engineering and Technology. Middle school students Shayla Squires of Whittington Middle and Samantha Payton and Kaylee Stocks of Contentnia Savannah K-8 School won third place honors for projects in chemistry and physics respectively. If they would come forward, please. Students from 20 different counties competed for the right to move on to the NC Science and Engineering Fair to be held in Raleigh at NC State University on March 29th and 30th. We're so proud of these guys. One of the best things about the... Okay. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I'm so sorry. All right, and Frink Middle Schooler Ahmad Zayed, second place in Bioscience A. Ahmad. Guys, I want to tell you one of the most rewarding things for me as superintendent and my staff, our directors and coordinators and teachers, one of the most rewarding things for us in going to the science showcase that we had at the district level and to the regional fair was not just seeing the projects, but hearing these kids articulate the learning that took place that was behind these projects. It was truly outstanding. The judges at East Carolina University that Saturday commented to us how impressed they were with these young people. So if their parents are here, if you would stand please, let's give them a round of applause. Shayla. And Kaylee. Congratulations. Good job. Remember Coleman Taylor, the fourth grade student from Pink Hill Elementary School, was with the Painted Rock, who was trying to win $500 for his school in an online contest sponsored by Michelin Corporation. Here's an update. Coleman won this, finishing #1 in his age group for the entire nation and securing the prize money to help make the car rider line better at Pink Hill Elementary School. So, Coleman, if you would come forward, we want to congratulate you. I'm so proud of you, buddy. #1 in the whole nation. How about that? They say Michelin is the best, is it? All right, folks, I can't think of a better situation than to have that many young people to recognize our school system. Our school system is filled with the best teachers and students anywhere, and you see an example of that tonight. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you so much. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Any public comments? All right. No public comments. We'll move to our presentation information portion of our agenda, and we'll go to digital learning student showcase with Mrs. Herring.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everyone. As part of our ongoing digital initiative, we have Frink Middle School here with us tonight to present and showcase their use of digital learning. Frink Middle School principal, Miss Elizabeth Pierce, and 7th grade students Trinity Robinson and Alex Groff will share an innovative way to utilize technology for them to be able to collect and analyze student data through personalized student digital data portfolios.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Getting this, I promise. Unfortunately, Alex Groff is sick. He had the flu. He called me this morning and he was very upset, but I'm gonna do his part, so I won't be as cute as he is, and but I'll try. Slide this over to you just a little bit. The school improvement team has been meeting and discussing digital portfolios now for about a year. So we've had multiple discussions about implementing this. This was a vision that I'd had and the school improvement team had, but we really wanted to make sure that this was very intentional and that this was something that was really all about the students and not about the adults. So this was a process that needed to be about the students' total growth, and we needed to make sure that it showed where the students had been and where they currently are and where the students projected themselves to be. The most important thing was that this was something they could make their own and be personal and motivating for them to be the absolute best they could be in all aspects. We definitely wanted it to be something that showed certain data points instructionally, but we also wanted it to be something they could add in assignments, favorite work, spotlight. We wanted it to include things, accolades achieved, things that you've seen here tonight, sports, clubs that we offer at the school. So we wanted it to really be just an overall view of the student as a whole, not just one particular area. So what you're about to see, and I'm going to start with this student sitting beside me, this pretty lady Trinity. We're going to start with her. What you're about to see first is fabricated data. You're not going to see any real student data, but I want you to get a view of what we're doing. It is in the very early implemented stages, but we're really excited about this process, and we want you to see the student choice in this and see kind of the vision of what we have for Frink Middle School. So I am going to run this while she talks her way through, and I'm going to start with her actual portfolio.
Good evening. My name is Trinity Robertson, and I would like to share parts of my digital portfolio with you. I choose to do my portfolio using numbers. My first tab is labeled All About Me. I like putting pictures of my favorite memories in the notebook. The next tab I would like to show you is the Math Data tab. This is not my actual data. I'm not sharing that. This is not, but I am going to show you how this information is entered. This page shows me my EVOS projections, my level and percent range, and the goal. So my goal is really important because it tells me how I should score on my common assessments. So there I have percentile, and then I have a level, and I have percent range, and then I have goal. So my goal is where I need to score, is how I need to score, like basically reflecting off of my percent range. So then you go down there and you can put in, I have two examples, you can put in your common assessments that you do in class, and with those two, I just basically type them all in, and I put my score.
You want to meet your goal or not? You want to show an example of meeting your goal?
Yeah.
Okay, so if our goal is 65 and I put in 65, that shows, you can explain that.
It shows if it's green, then that means I met it. If it's blue, then that means depending on how I score, if I meet, exceed, or do not meet my goal. So if it's red, then I didn't meet it. If it's blue, then it shows me the difference of how I could kind of grow a little bit. And if it's green, then that means I met it. The last tab I would like to share is my personal goals. This tab I created to give self-motivation and know where I started and where I want to end.
Hi, so it's Trinity here, and I'm going to share with you one of my 2019 goals, and that is just basically showing growth in reading on my 39 minutes benchmark. I have been staying at a 62.5 for the longest time, and I've been trying to show growth and get it like above 62.5 because I just stay at that one level. I've never really gone down, I've never gone up. Just really, really trying to show growth and get up.
Stop her before she went too much into her data. That's something she entered in, and that's her entering in what she wants to about her personal goals. The next part that, unfortunately, Alex is not here to share with you. Oh, hold on. I did the wrong thing. Oh, no. Let's just do this. This is, I'm just going to minimize that because it fits up in here. The next part is Alex's. So in his, he chose to use Google. And you can see in his, this is his All About Me tab, and he actually wrote what he wanted to say tonight. This is his favorite tab as well. He has decided to enter in, let me make it, no, I can't make it smaller. He's decided to enter in his autobiography, pictures. He's entered in links to some favorite projects he's done over the year. If you go into some of these links, you'll see where he's done some work. He started with one draft and, you know, built upon those drafts and made them a little bit better. He put in some goals that he wants to accomplish, that he wanted to earn a 90-95 math overall, meet principals list, be a student of the month for the first time at Frank. So it's his personal goals that he put in. You'll see a copy of ELA because, again, we're not using their data. So in his, this is what his data tab looks like, similar to what she just showed you in her math. For his ELA, the same information, you have the projection, so that's something in data talks with teachers and data talks with administration, the administrative teams going in and doing data talks, but on truly probably a monthly basis, bi-monthly basis, every time we have benchmarks, the data talks are happening with the kids. We used to do it on more of a card fashion with the kids, but now, again, we're starting to use this platform. But they have their EVOS projection, their level, 1 through 5. That gives them their percent range, so you're having to go from percentile to percents. So it's a little bit of a tricky formula that we're having to get the kids used to. And that gives them their goals. So essentially what that's telling them is when they take common assessments, when they take SchoolNet assessments, that's their goal they need to be reaching for. And if they reach that goal, then they're meeting their yearly projection at the end of the year. Their MAPS data is in here. This is his MAPS data for language arts. So if I were to change this, for example, let's say he scored 150, you'll see his chart change. And they can put any kind of chart they want to. If they want a pie graph, they want, bar graph, whatever they want. This is just what he chose. So you can definitely see that move. Down here, he's got the same thing, and he's actually entered in some data in there to show the green, the red, the blue. It's the same concept as what you just saw from Trinity. That tells if he's meeting his goal, if he's exceeding his goal. If you move on to the next tab, and she has this in hers as well, this is an attendance and discipline tab the kids enter in. So, and maybe make this a little bit bigger. If you see right here, so if he in March is absent 3 days, it'll calculate how many instructional hours that's missed, and that'll chart that. So if in February he missed 4 days, If in May he misses another 3 days, that'll chart that for him and give him that 70 hours of instruction missed. I have had some very interesting questions. The kids are coming up with really awesome things they want to see in this and they want to create in this. So we're taking that feedback, and we'll talk about that in a second. They also do that for ISS and OSS. Same thing, instructional hours they're missing of core content in the classroom. If they do have ISS or OSS, it calculates the same thing and it does chart, and it charts, you know, what kind of incident that is. In his, it's really big. I don't know what it's doing. But anyway, in his, he has some pictures from his STEM class. He loves STEM, and he created this tab in his. They're doing a glove garden. His partner is Blake, and so they're doing pictures, and he's showing how that's growing, literally. His glove garden, and he put a reflection piece in here. The standard mastery, I'm really excited about this tab for the kids, and I see this going into our remediation time for the kids to have a say of where they need to go during their remediation time. Right now, the teachers and I work really hard in their PLCs on a weekly basis to decide where the kids go on a weekly basis for their remediation time. But I feel like this can be a really big piece of the kids having say-so as to where they need to go, where they feel like they should go. So this is kind of a, I feel like I've met the standard, almost meeting the standard, I haven't quite met it, I need to move on. Just real friendly way of them calculating, and I feel like my vision for this is to have more of a reflection piece as to where the kids, you know, tell me why you feel like you've met this, give me some artifacts as to why you feel like you've met this standard. So that's kind of a work in progress, but I think that's where the kids and the students and the teachers would have conversation, and you know, they have to sort of prove why they met the standard. But I think this would really go hand in hand really nicely with our remediation time that we have. But this is all them, so that's really it as far as the actual portfolio itself. You've seen the main pieces. The timing I feel like is perfect right now. I know that it's taken a year of really talking about it in the school improvement team, but I feel like the time is perfect because it took getting some structures in place for the teachers to really understand the data themselves, to be able to have the data talks, to make them really effective to the students, so the students could really take ownership of the data. I know you've heard from 2 of the students. I wish that we could have, you know, multiple students share, all the students share, because they all look so different. So I want to show you a quick video so you can hear just from a few other students and get a teacher perspective on those also.
It gives us more information on Harold School itself. It has our grades and as well, but it also has personal stuff. It still shows us our grades and how we're progressing throughout the year.
You can use it in learning, and you can use it not just in social studies or science, you can use it in other activities. Like I play soccer, so you can see, like, let's say one day I scored a goal and the next day I didn't. I can see what I did wrong and how I could fix it, and later on you can use like videos, photos to see and record actually how the data is and how you can change from it. You use them to put like your scores and stuff in them, to keep track of how we're doing.
You've grown and a good way to learn what you need to work on and what not.
We use charts to track our attendance and math data.
And we also use charts to track our progress. Like I said, you can use it in other activities. You can use it in soccer. You can use it in any sport. You can use it like in science fair or in science Olympiad. You can use it because it actually shows you what you need to be doing for your kind of grade level and what you should be succeeding to, what you should be expecting. It wasn't that hard to set it up. I just made it a little bit creative with everything. But the hardest part was to go through my scores
for the NC check-ins, and all my math and science and ELA. Sounds really dumb. It's really not hard at all. All you have to do is percentiles, percentages, your scores on what you made. You have to put different stuff for it to actually become a portfolio itself. Well, I think it's important because it keeps your data, it keeps your charts, it keeps your graphs, it keeps everything for you to see on your iPad or something.
I think they're important so you can see your goals. And if you put goals in there, you can write down what your goal is. And if you meet it, you can also put that in. But if you know your goal, you can try to reach it.
Charts and graphs really help me to see if I'm making progress or if I'm going up or down. I also have a chance to reflect and figure out what I need to do to get back on track.
What I really like about the student data portfolios is it's a one-stop place for the students to keep all their scores, their NC check-ins, their NWE math testing, their EOG scores, and the EBOS projections for the year before. When we use the digital portfolios, it gives me a chance to sit down with the students and we can look, at their growth. We can look at graphs and charts, look at their predictions, and this gives the students a chance to set realistic goals for themselves. It also allows me as a teacher to actually talk to them, find out what's going on in their lives. Maybe you had a bad day during one of the tests, maybe you were sick, a lot of things. The students enjoy it because it gives them a chance to input their data, take ownership of it, and we set these portfolios up where they can add things that happened during middle school, pictures, videos that they made in school. What's going to be neat about these, especially when we start with these children in the 6th grade, is these portfolios can go with them all the way through the end of 8th grade. Like I said, so far, it's been a huge help. It'll be neat when we implement it throughout the whole school and every child has one available to them.
So that is it as far as that part goes. I think we're just so fortunate to be able to have this, I think power is the right word, by having the one-to-one, and every child being capable to do this, and being able to have their true ownership of their data, and the teachers being able, like Mr. Baker just said, but being able to sit down with the kids and having everything right there, and it continues to grow constantly, and it can go from year to year with them. So I think it's kind of transferring from us as educators, the principal and the teacher are learning about it, that it goes more to the student. So for us, it's already been very powerful, and it's been not that long implemented, and it's not even fully implemented yet. So we're just really excited about it.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
I'm just glad her hand's better.
Do what?
I'm glad her hand is better.
Trinity, thank you for coming tonight. You did great.
Good job. Pierce, thank you.
Our next item will be our National Black History Month Recognition Summary. Mrs. Herring
Thank you.
and Mrs. Lynch.
This evening, we have asked, Mr. Williams mentioned it earlier in his remarks, we've asked 6 principals, 2 elementary, 2 middle, and 2 high school, to present an overview and summary of the programs, speakers, projects, and other instructional activities designed to recognize February as National Black History Month in Lenoir County Public Schools. And so we're getting that set up now, and we'll start with our elementary principals that will be presenting, and that's Ms. Glover from Banks and Ms. Woods from Northeast.
Hello, hello. Thank you, ladies.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you. Ms. Woods and I are so excited to be here tonight. Anytime we can showcase our school, we get very happy, don't we, Ms. Wood? Yes, we do. All right, well, we're going to start with thanks. The Banks family enjoyed a night out at the Black History Walking Museum presented by students and staff who researched people and events that made a great impact in history. Parents and visitors had the opportunity to walk through the halls and visit every classroom doorway where students and staff had researched a famous American and they made their presentations. So let's look at the first picture on the left. Miss Grady's first graders researched Harriet Tubman. Students made a class video sharing facts about her life. So as parents went by, the students would talk and they would also show them their video. And on the right, Brandon Ingram, Kinston Pro basketball player, was researched by Ms. Beeman's first graders. And the interesting thing about Brandon, if you look to the right of him, you'll see this tall strip of tape, and that's how tall he actually was. And it was really interesting to compare yourself with him, and his handprints were there and his feet. So that was a fun place to be. At the bottom, Charlie Scott and Dean Smith. Ms. Sutherland's third graders shared their research on this one. So, of course, that teacher, the students chose this person because she graduated from Carolina. So, but that was very interesting. And the boys, all the students really played these roles well. And this is not something they took a name and they researched it a little bit. They took weeks and they chose these different people, and the students took turns depicting these characters. So it was really an interesting night and lots of participation with our students. And we had a really good turnout. Let's see. Dr. Ben Carson was chosen by Miss Beeman's class as the person they wanted to research. And this young fella did a super job. He was dressed, he had his little mustache, and he did a super job, really good job. And if you'll notice the yellow over the student on the right's head, that's where teachers, parents, visitors could go along and look at their code, and they could use their phones to look up the code, and would send them to places where they could see more information on this particular person. And that was just about at every station. Abraham Lincoln was researched by Ms. Potter's third graders. Students made a class video sharing facts about his life and his involvement with slavery in the Civil War. And then Ms. Connor's first graders shared their knowledge of Wilma Rudolph. Okay, that was it. Okay. Robbie Novak, kid president, was depicted as Ms. Sutherland's third graders, and there were several. If you'll notice, two of these are twins. I guess you can pick out the ones on the left, are twins. And they constantly shifted people coming out being Robbie Novak. That was really interesting. And as I was going around, I was amazed at the things that, well, not the things that I didn't know. There was a lot that I didn't know, but I just learned so much. And there was one woman, and I should have known this because I had such bad hair, but she did the first hair products, and it was really wonderful. And I thought, and she still does these products, and I thought, I've got to look at this stuff. I mean, it was really, really interesting. Okay, the three musicians on the right. Brothers Kellis, Maceo Parker, and Melvin. Now, when you went to this little station, these fellas played music for us. They did a really good job. These three brothers all made historical impacts. Melvin Parker, the drummer for Maceo Parker. Kellis Parker, first black professor at Columbia University and activist. And then, of course, Maceo Parker, jazz musician. So I believe that's all of mine. And we concluded the evening with our Banks ambassadors, our fifth graders, a group of 8 fifth graders. They led our visitors to where we had refreshments at the end. And it was really a wonderful evening. We had about 300 people respond that they were coming, and just as the night began, that was the night it began to sleet, so I think that took away some of us, but we had a little over 200 people. And it was very, very successful, and our children were able to go around the halls and look at each other's stations. So the teachers enjoyed it, students enjoyed it, and I think the parents did as well. So thank you. I hope you've enjoyed it.
And at Northeast, very similarly, we said that we were busy with a purpose. These are just a few of our door and bulletin board displays. Every teacher, pre-K through 5th, were challenged to create a doorway or a bulletin board. It was up to them. These would be what would be on display also during our annual Black Wax Museum. So these are just a few. Our counselor, social worker, nurse, everyone in our school that has a door or bulletin board all decorated them. And these are just a few. There were so many pictures, so many beautiful displays that I just couldn't get everything in there. But there was some really, really neat talent that came out during this. Kindergarten class are all of the students that you see mimicking the old representation. So those are all kindergartners that you see. And then the rest of them are just boards or bulletin boards or doors throughout our building. So this is one of the first things that we did to just kind of get the month rolling. And then our annual Black Wax Museum. The picture in the middle shows our grand entrance. We truly transformed Northeast into a walking Black Wax Museum. Every student, every classroom in our building, pre-K through 5th grade, every student participated in our Black Wax Museum. We held that on this past Wednesday from 9 a.m. until 11 a.m. And then we followed that with a short performance afterwards where we just gave a snippet of our Northeast come to light. So it was kind of Northeast in the spotlight is what we did that night. But these are just a few of our students in the hallways, and as you dropped a coin, a penny, whatever you had, or just stood in front of them, the students stood up and told you who they were and how important they were, who they depicted, all African Americans, whether it be someone that's past, present, or someone, and even one student said, I'm representing this person, but I also think I will be, and told the next, the present, who they think they will be able to be. So our pre-K students were kind of the present. They did songs and then said who they think they will be in the future. So these are just a few of our students. You also will see that our EC self-contained classes also participated. The bus, you'll see at the very top, is our autistic classroom. Even all of those students took part in our Black Wax Museum. So not one student was left out from our celebration. And then in addition, we also noted Mondays and Fridays as inclusive and pride days. So girls might have had on twin shirts that said Girl Power. You'll see that this is a teacher and myself with matching shirts that say One Race. On the left, that's myself and the teacher. On the right is a teacher and myself again, dressed in our African attire. And in the middle, our counselor also took the chance to spread love. And so we had a kindness drive that kind of went on throughout the month of February as well, where she came in and we talked about random acts of kindness and what that meant. So she started on a Monday, concluded on a Friday, where she simply handed kids a card. Theirs might have had a pack of gummies with it, and it just said, random act of kindness, you've been selected. You are now challenged with nothing monetary. You are challenged with sitting with a friend you don't typically sit with. You're challenged with picking up paper in the hallway if you see it. You're challenged with, and it just was simple things, simple acts of kindness that students themselves can do. So the pictures in the middle is our counselor and all of the students that participated in the random acts of kindness also at Northeast during our celebration. And then some of the other things that aren't depicted, we had an author come in and speak to us. So several African American authors were visitors in our classroom, kindergarten to 5th grade. Lots of teachers did QR codes. So outside of our son, I don't think her board's up here. Yes, it is. The scientist that's up there. Underneath, they're all African American scientists, and they're QR codes underneath, just to kind of give our students that technology edge, so that students walked up you couldn't just say, oh, who is this, flip it up and read it, but instead you scan to find out a little more information. And then lots of students also did trivia throughout the classroom to ensure that our students were learning. So at the end, when they did their characters, they had a complete research project in addition to all of the information that was throughout the school. Yes. And just for your taking, before we leave, you do have little prizes that will be coming around to everyone. At our night, that's not included, I don't have pictures up here of our students. I think I was so busy watching, but we did do a night where we had students come and do a talent show on Wednesday night. And all of our parents that came either to the Wax Museum or to our Northeast Come to Life, our Spotlight on Northeast, all got the bookmarks and pencils that you will be receiving. So we hope that you enjoy.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
elementary. At this time, we'll transition to our middle school. We have Ms. Rhonda Green and Ms. Felicia.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
So at Rochelle Middle School, in honor of Black History Month, we started February the 1st with a daily Black History moment. And many of the historical Black history facts were first about the history that was made right here in Lenoir County. African Americans who had accomplished amazing things. Our SGA actually researched those facts, and there was a daily moment during announcements that each fact was shared. On February the 26th, this was our culminating activity. One of our teachers, Ms. Daniels, who's here tonight, actually created a unit. And the unit integrated math, ELA, writing, and social studies. And the unit was created, phenomenal piece of work. And basically, students were given an opportunity also to decide on what Black history personalities and history makers that they wanted to research. Students did the research on those respective individuals, and the final activity was, I call it the Black Expo, but a wonderful production. The young lady featured here was actually Diana Ross, and she did a phenomenal coverage of I'm Coming Out. We actually had those areas represented in the arts, in politics, actors, as well as inventors, scientists. The young lady here selected her own song, and she was Billie Holiday, and actually performed Strange Fruit. And then it was just amazing, simply amazing. On last week, Ms. Tidra Brown, some of her students, actually did an HBCU college fair. And this was after students had researched historically Black colleges and universities. The timing was really great because our 8th grade students, of course, had just finished a visit to Kinston High School for one of their transition meetings. So they, being recruited. We also had visits by the early college. So the whole recruitment energy was apparent. But students did research on the HBCUs that are here in North Carolina, when we consider the fact that there are approximately 102 HBCUs in the nation, and North Carolina actually houses most of those HBCUs. Ironically, most of the students selected A&T. There were quite a few. I don't know if it might be a couple of Aggies.
Like it was rigged to me.
Yeah.
Wonder why.
Yeah.
They are others.
Exactly.
This is an amazing coincidence.
Yes. So, a wonderful HBCU college fair. The students created their trifles and also created phenomenal keynote advertisements. They did these wonderful commercials, and during planning periods, teachers were able to come. A couple of parents came in and allowed the students to just share with us about the HBCU that they represented. And I don't know if I can try this or not, but I would love if you could see. I don't have permission, so you won't see that.
But Ms. Solomon, you can share that one of Governor Cooper's cabinet members came to Rochelle last week and was able to see some of this going on. And she was there about cultural arts and A+ status schools. But Secretary Hamilton, do you want to share with them about that?
Yes, on last week, we did have a visit from one of the secretaries in Governor Cooper's cabinet, Secretary Susie Hamilton, who represents cultural arts and resources in North Carolina. She paid us a visit, brought some hurricane supplies, and then wanted to tour the school, wanted to meet some of our students, to view the mural. And she was also met there by Michelle Burrows from A+ Schools. And as we continue to work to increase our presence in that network, she was just amazed at some of the things that she saw in our classrooms, and actually asked Ms. Daniels to give her a copy of the unit that she created. One of the great things about the performance for the Black History 101 Expo is that it truly reflected what an integration of the arts and the core content, what it really looks like. And it was a wonderful visit. We were joined by Stephen Hill, who is, and Sandy Landis from the state and city arts council as well. And they were all able to sit in during some of the rehearsals for the Black Expo.
My turn? Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Centennial Savannah held their STEM Carnival along with our Hall of Fame this past Thursday, February 28th. CSS has always had a STEM night. However, we were looking at trying to increase our parent participation with these nights. So our school improvement team got together, brainstormed, and we came up with the idea to include a Hall of Fame walk along with the night that we also had our STEM activities. We held a gallery walk for in honor of Black History Month. We celebrated these people that were that had something to do with the STEM fields: inventors, scientists, musicians, doctors, teachers, and each grade level was responsible for having at least 2 African American figures for their Hall of Fame. Displays included dressing up as their person, creating posters, digital displays were also there. Students had a really good time dressing as their historical figures, giving giving their speeches of their life, as well as, and some utilized green screens to help with this. As you can see in the first slide, as soon as you entered the building, you entered Hitsville, USA. That was our Motown Museum. Diana Ross, Whitney Houston, Barry Gordy, James Brown, Alicia Keys, they were all in attendance. They had a really good time presenting to families and parents that came up and of the obstacles that they had encountered along the way and how they had overcome those obstacles. As you moved down the hallway, you would come across a display of our biography bottles. That was really cool. These students were able to choose whatever African American that they wanted to research, and they were asked to create and design costumes that represented what they were famous for. So that was really nice. If you'll look down below, there are a couple of pictures of our middle school students. One is beside her poster of the person that she presented. One of the other student, he was born, he got really personal with this, and he chose to present on the man that helped develop the technique to surgically correct certain heart defects, which he was born with. So he was excited to share his story and how this man had helped save his life. So that was very touching. On the other side, you see one of our first African American teachers. Further down the hallway, we did have also had some things displayed on our walls. We had a periodic table of Black history. Excuse me. They were color-coded according to what they were famous for. Our art teacher, Mr. Tobias, they had been studying African American artists along with shadowing and 3D techniques. So they incorporated that. I don't know if you can see really well. See the trunk, that represented a strong and deep-rooted tie to the art world. And as you see the faces that are incorporated on that was to show their rise as they moved up. So that was, we're still enjoying those on our walls today. That's Diana Ross right there in all her glory. She was really into her role that night. We also had some students who decided to create a video, a commercial that we posted on Facebook, encouraging families and community members to attend. It's not very long, but it's so cute. I have to show it to you. What do I do here, Felicia?
Click.
No, I muted it.
Oh, you just unmuted it.
Oh. Melissa? This is what I do at school. Katie? Oh, well, it's okay. All right. After our parents and our students went down the Hall of Fame, they went into our gym area where we had our STEM activities set up. We had about 10 tables. Parents were able to participate with their kids on some really cool STEM experiments. It was just a really exciting night. I was really proud of the passion and the dedication, the hard work that the staff and our students put forth with this. We had over 100 families in attendance with about 350 to 400 people. So that was a really big night for us. The families received as they exited the building, dinner to go in the form of Little Caesar's pizza. So we just kind of handed out boxes of pizza according to how many people were in their family. So if they had over, more than 4 people, they got 2 boxes. That was a big hit as well. We had a lot of positive feedback about this night, and so we're really excited about it, and we do have plans to continue and make this an annual event.
Thank you so much, ladies. Do you have any questions? Next, we have our high school principals. We have Ms. Kelly Bright from Kinston High School and Ms. Diane Pete from the Early College.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Kellen Bryant. As you can see here, there are several very beautiful posters that we have hung in our front lobby and guidance area. This is something we started doing last year as well. And they loop around into our student lounge. And they highlight important events and figures that change the course of history. These are up during our entire month of Black History Month. Speakers from FCA in the top picture and from LCC in the bottom picture came and spoke to groups of our students during our focus time, sharing their personal stories, how they overcame challenges, what their life story looked like. Students in Ms. Demery's class researched and during the announcement spotlighted different African Americans that made great contributions and discoveries during the month of February. And Friday trivia was done to recap what was announced during the week, and students, there was a drop box in the front that students could come drop their answers in, and there was a drawing done at the end of the day for those students who won with the trivia. Health Team Relations students aligned their history and trends of healthcare unit with their Black History Month. They did a 19 scientist blog on their Google Classroom where they researched and blogged about 19 scientists who contributed to the area of science. And students also completed feedback on STEM careers from their science buddies along with Black History Month. At our February 7th Kinston High School Family Night, we celebrated Black History Month through our student performances during our dinner, which followed our instructional sessions. Senior Caden Edgiston, who you can see on the right, performed her original I Am African American and Proud poem for everyone in attendance. Miss Miller's theater students, and we had about 40 students participate. They did a lively dance tribute to Black History Month, and other students in the back, you can't see them, but there's some drums and some table instruments, and they created the original beat for the dance rhythm, playing drums and the table instruments. Also, you can see that our gospel choir and our jazz band performed as well. We had about 200 people in attendance at this event that night. Our front office decorated very well. Our foods students served dinner to everyone. So our kids were a part of every aspect of this event that night. A lot of our classrooms did different events during Black History Month with projects and digital-based learning. One of the ones that really stood out to me was Mr. Kester's English 1 classes studied African American authors like Clint Smith, Langston Hughes, and Richard Wright. Students completed a comparative study of Langston Hughes' poem Theme for English B and Clint Smith's Place Matters. And the students then produced their own poetry and performed dramatic recitations of their own work in the classrooms.
Thank you. And for early college, I am happy to tell you that we were allotted 2 slides, so I couldn't put everything that we were doing. So there were many opportunities during the regular classroom times that students were integrating their research and their studies, incorporating famous African Americans into the regular day. What I do want to point out is that we had a really unique opportunity on February 21st as part of an auditorium presentation that we had that was facilitated by one of our own teachers, Dr. Rita Joyner. Our students and staff and guests had a special opportunity to learn about local Black history. That being something that occurred here in 1951. The Adkin walkout. What we found is that many of our students did not know about it or were aware of what occurred. One of our former Lenoir County students who graduated from North Lenoir, Holly Holder, created and produced a documentary about the Adkin walkout. And in her documentary, she featured Dr. Joyner from our school. Dr. Joyner had done research through her PhD about this walkout. And the whole idea with exposing our students to this was to know that when, at a time in history in 1951, where students in the all-Black high school noted the disparities between their educational materials, supplies, facilities, compared to the all-white school, which was Granger High School. The students then created and planned for a peaceful protest about how their educational means and status was not the same as the all-white school. So our students were able to see that. It's almost 14 minutes, and I would encourage anyone who has not seen it, the link is there in our presentation, to be able to see how they handled that in noting the differences, and the students protected the teachers in the school and the principals. They all planned it because they knew they would get in trouble. So the students planned it, and how they carried it out in secret was amazing to see. This documentary. The most important thing in this too, that our students had an opportunity to be a part of living history, because we had 3 legends from this walkout in 1951 who came to our program. Not only did they come to the program and we recognized them, we fed them a soul dinner, and they stayed to have valuable conversations with our students. And what our students could learn from that is to see how something could be carried out peacefully, yet the people who were there that were a part of executing this plan were very humble, who were very wanting to see the same things happening at a time when the law was in session for separate but equal, but it wasn't equal. And so it was an opportunity for our students to be a part of living history. And I do want to mention that these students were a part of the graduating class of 1952. As I was perusing our audience tonight, when this walkout occurred in 1951, there weren't many in this room who were even born at that time. So when you're looking at these legends that visited with us, they were at least 84 to 87 years old. So this is living history from here in Lenoir County. And so those attending from that graduating class who participated were Bessie Maxwell, Delphia Ward, and Dorothy McFalls. What was also fascinating is that one of their teachers, William, they call him Uncle Bill Lawson, who was a teacher at the time the walkout occurred in 1951, also was present in our building and visited with our students. And so if you get a chance, please take a look at that documentary, because what we found is that not only with the students, but many adults did not know about the history that had taken place in Lenoir County. And in addition to our students being able to preview the almost 14-minute documentary that was created by one of our former Lenoir County students, we had 5 students who created their own original works of poetry in which they had to integrate literary terms and skills learned in their English 2 classes. And so they were featured in our program as well. At the conclusion of the program, some of our special guests wanted copies. So the students were going to make copies, and I said, you can do that, but please make sure you sign your copy, because we may have some famous poetry writers from the early college.
And as great job, but I wanted to point out also, Ms. Heath, you mentioned Holly Holder. She is a student at Duke University, and she did complete this documentary. It started as a class project with research, and then she worked with one of her professors and produced this full-length documentary. And Dr. Joyner at your school, teacher at Early College High School here, Ross, does an amazing job there, collaborated with her on this, and the film has actually been shown. The Sundance Film Festival has a category for student filmmakers, and it's actually been featured there. So that documentary's gone a long way, and we're very proud of Holly, and the Atkin Walkout is now featured in the African American History Museum in DC as part of the Smithsonian. So that's a constant connection there. So
And
we're
as
so
I
proud of
was
that.
informed, this is not the end of it. They are working on part 2. So please do take a look at it.
Ladies, great job.
We'll move on to our school safety planning process. Mr. Harvey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
What's wrong, A&T?
I'm gonna have my colleague pull it up. New computer, no password. While my colleague is pulling it up, tonight I will be providing an update on our school safety planning processes and also provide an update on our school security implementation measures.
Charles, do you have a new password? Bulletin?
There we go. Thank you.
Tell me what it is later, Ms. Jones. Thank you.
All right. Give kudos to our excellent public information officer for taking this outstanding shot. This shot was taken last spring at Kentucky Savannah School when our district was involved in a active shooter drill at Kentucky Savannah School right before spring break. So thank you, Patrick, for that outstanding shot. What's required? 115C-105 subsets 45 through 57 spell out for us, and they find that all schools should be safe, secure, and orderly. If students are to aim for academic excellence, it is imperative that there is a climate of respect in every school and that every school is free of disruption, drugs, violence, and weapons. All schools must have plans, policies, and procedures for dealing with disorderly and disruptive behavior. Tonight, we will discuss 4 subsets of 115C that specifically deal with school safety. The first, all North Carolina public schools are required to conduct safety drills, including monthly fire, yearly tornado, and lockdown drills twice a year. All schools are also required to maintain crisis information kits in the school risk management system. Multiple kits are located at each school. What's in the kit? Keys, school blueprints, bail schedules, current rosters, including emergency contact information, and other items. The online risk management system has all the above mentioned items, minus the keys, of course, but also has aerial views that are pulled from Google Earth to better assist first responders to respond to schools in crisis. Also, effective July 1, 2019, an anonymous tip lines and monitoring and response applications must be implemented. Lenoir County Public Schools has maintained an anonymous tip line for several years. Although we support the state's initiative to institute a tip line, we know that nothing replaces the relationships and open lines of communication that we build each day with our students. All schools are in compliance at this time. To date, Lenoir County Public Schools has completed 119 fire drills and 17 lockdown drills. Also, as Mr. Williams indicated earlier tonight, severe weather preparedness week is this week, March 3rd through 9th. Lenoir County Public Schools will participate in the statewide tornado drill this Wednesday, March 6th at 9:30 in the morning. We invite you all to attend. Phase 1, if you recall a couple of months ago, I gave you an update on the status of the implementation of the security systems, and we want to thank our county commissioners again for graciously supplying us funding to support this effort. Security cameras, access control doors, and new handheld radios have been installed and or delivered to nearly all schools. What's neat about the new handheld radios is that if one of our schools are in crisis or were to be in crisis, radios at their sister school, their place of evacuation, will now communicate with those radios. We did not have that capability in the past. So that is a neat upgraded feature that we'll have moving forward with our handheld radios.
And law enforcement can do that as well when they arrive on a campus.
I've embedded a link here from WNCT that did a feature on Lenoir County Public Schools last month in regards to our security system upgrades. I won't play that for you tonight, but in your leisure, I will encourage you to view that snippet from Channel 9. I want to bring your attention to Senate Bill 99, the 2018 Appropriations Act. Lenoir County Public Schools applied and did receive funding for school resource officers. That funding is vital to our endeavor to have school resource officers in all of our schools. We endeavor to have resource officers in all of our schools, and you'll see in our next step slide, our goal is to have a resource officer in each school. We will lobby the state for more assistance moving forward to ensure that that happens. This slide shows captured images from our new security systems, and we showed that to you when Mr. Vermillion was here a couple of months ago. This image right here was taken Friday from Northwest School. You may see our superintendent right here. This is Read Across America Day, and we caught him going into the building. I got you. Training. DPI offers quarterly meetings of school safety for school safety officials to discuss greatest needs and challenges. We have been present at each meeting. 115C also requires that school systems conduct roundtable opportunities to review scenarios with law enforcement and the response to active shooter incidents. We are having ongoing roundtable discussions, and more will be scheduled this spring. In addition to the roundtable discussions, we will conduct a spring active shooter drill. The location will be Lenoir Community College, and the date is to be determined. Last year, several board members attended the one at Continuing Savannah, and you will be invited to attend the one at Lenoir Community College. I encourage you to attend if you can. It is very eye-opening to see staff members respond and react to crisis situations. ACEs, Adverse Childhood Experiences. Mental health, and my principals are here, they can attest, and we've talked about this at previous board meetings, mental health is the #1 growing concern in our schools. We recognize that we need more training to respond to students in mental health crisis. ACEs training is the first step on our journey. At this point, our student services team members, including all counselors, social workers, and nurses, have been ACEs trained, as well as our principals and central office staff. As the name declares, adverse childhood experiences, we are looking at the adverse, or to better put it frankly, trauma. The trauma that our students experience before coming to school each and every day are causing those things to manifest in our schools. The ACEs training does a great job of looking at that trauma, how to identify trauma, and also how to respond to trauma. We've had phase 1 of the ACEs training. Our goal is to implement the next phases as well, and to, as you'll see in our next step slide, to have all of our teachers ACEs trained as well, and to become an ACEs trained district. And I've embedded a link to ACEs for you to study in your leisure as well. Next step, to complete installation of the security camera systems, access control doors, and etc. in the phase 1 plan. Then begin phase 2, the active alert system. And when Mr. Vermillion was here a couple of months ago, we talked about very briefly a slight overview of the active alert system. I will bring you more information regarding the active alert system at a later date. Also, we need to apply for more school resource officer funding, whether we lobby our legislators through grant funding opportunities, or our local legislators as well, because we recognize that a law enforcement officer in each of our schools is vital. We also will apply and seek more funding in the area of mental health to increase our number of school social workers, nurses, and counselors, because we need more. We need more support, and our principals can attest to that each and every day. And as I said before, ACEs trained for all Lenoir County Public Schools staff members. I'll entertain any questions that you may have regarding security training, school safety training.
Which schools do you have left to implement the new camera system?
Phase 1. So next you have Frank Middle School will be next, followed by Whittington Middle School, LaGrange, Northeast, and then Southeast. Moss Hill and Pink Hill They have several cameras. They have other needs, and we've talked to the principals about those needs, not necessarily in the areas of camera systems, but other school safety upgrades. But today, this year, Kinston High School, Rochelle Middle School, South Lenoir High School, Southwood, Northwest, Continue Savannah, North Lenoir High School, and Banks Elementary School. Complete. Early College High School is on, as you know, on the Lenoir Community College campus, and they have their own system. And Lenoir County Learning Academy has several cameras, and they already have access control doors. So I talked to Mr. Whitfield prior to his move to Southeast, and he had some ideas about LCLA, and that'll be in the next phase as well.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey.
Thank you.
Recognize Mr. Williams for some policy revisions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The North Carolina School Boards Association has submitted policy revisions through the Policies to Lead the Schools subscription in response to recent legislative action. The policies are submitted tonight for board study with action to be taken at a subsequent meeting.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Because we have some policies coming up in the next section. Once upon a time, there were certain policies that were so vital that employees understood that they had to do a sign-off on them. Sexual harassment was one of them. Do we still do that?
We do. We do the
Okay.
trainings at the beginning of the year, and the staff members sign off on them, and we get rosters from the training to attest to several things. When the training happened, who conducted the training, who was present at the training, and that frequently comes up sometimes when questions are asked about issues and things.
I bring that up because the two policies that we're going to vote on tonight probably need to be included in that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We have a full range of everything from sexual harassment to bullying, to the regular policies, procedures manual, to the student code of conduct, to the testing code of ethics, and all that we have teachers sign off on.
But my concern is with the one that we're adopting tonight, dealing with social media and so forth. I think it's vital that employees understand that that's there, and it affects more than just school activities.
Absolutely.
All right.
That's part of the ongoing training that we're doing. In fact, Carolyn Murchison can tell you that before the January board meeting, she came, and as part of our ongoing training session with staff members, this was with administrators, but as an added layer to what you're talking about, and I completely agree with that, we train administrators regularly on a number of topics like these policies and even some procedures to accompany them that tend to be hot button issues that cause a lot of concern and questions. In fact, she and I were corresponding today about an upcoming training of that type. So that's a good idea. Thank you.
No further questions? We'll go to the financial report. Mr. Adams has been waiting patiently.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good evening, board members. The
Evening.
February 2019 financial report summarizes budget and year-to-date activity for all Lenoir County Board of Education funds as of February 28, 2019. Additionally, the report presents the local current expense fund balance as of January 28. Give you an opportunity to review the report and entertain any questions if there are any.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adams.
Thank you, sir.
We'll now move to our action portion of our agenda with our policy provisions. Mr. Williams.
Yes, sir. The aforementioned policies coming back to you for a vote tonight are from the North Carolina School Boards Association from their policy review subscription that we have with them. And we are bringing them forward tonight for a vote.
Move to adopt policy revisions.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Smith and a second by Mr. Davis. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll go to Mrs. Herring for proclamation for school calendar flexibility.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Okay. There's been some discussion from the North Carolina School Board Association and among several districts in the state to request for different boards, all boards, to pass a resolution to provide more calendar flexibility. And so that's what this presentation is. The subtitle is, of course, One Size Does Not Fit All, and that's directly from the resolution itself. Just to give you a summary of what we are bound to with regards to the calendar. Oh, you didn't see all that. It's a little much. So the calendar legislation summary, I've provided this for you. It's Senate Bill 187. It applies beginning with the 13-14 school year. It rewrites a portion of the calendar bill from General Statute 115C-84.2. The school calendars must meet the following requirements, and there's no flexibility here. The start date is no earlier than the Monday closest to August 26th. This is very difficult for us. And the end date can be no later than the Friday closest to June 11th. It says unless a weather-related calendar waiver has been approved, year-round school, charter school, or cooperative innovative high school, they're able to have a waiver. If the waiver is approved, the start date can be no earlier than the Monday closest to August 19th. So even with the waiver, you can't start any sooner than 19th. There are no educational purpose waivers for exemption of the opening and or closing dates. So they don't allow us to come up with any reasons or arguments to allow us to start earlier. Number 3, all schools within the district have to be closed all day for purposes of determining eligibility for a weather-related waiver. Of course, we've been through that recently with our hurricane in the fall. Number 4, the calendar has to cover at least 9 months. We have to have one of the other, 185 days of instruction or 1,025 hours of instruction. We count hours in Lenoir County. We count minutes and hours. We must have at least 9 teacher work days. That's the minimum. They require us to have 9. Local boards shall designate 2 work days on which teachers may take accumulated vacation leave. So there has to be at least 2 optional work days. Local boards may designate the remaining work days as days teachers may take accumulated vacation leave. We have to have 10 vacation leave days. There has to be 10 Vs in the calendar. You have to have the same or equivalent number of legal holidays occurring with the school calendars as designated by the State Personnel Commission for state employees. So we have to follow those guidelines, of course. We can't have school on Sunday. And Veterans Day must be taken as a holiday. And so we follow, those are our guidelines. Let me go back to the presentation. I can find it. Where did it go? Sorry, excuse me. Here we go. Okay. It's not coming up here. Sorry. Okay, I'll go to Word Docs. Excuse me. So we've reviewed the legislation. There's several key points that I'd like to pull out from the resolution that are most important. First of all, it is impossible to make up missed days due to weather when you cannot begin before August 26th or end later than June 11th. Hurricanes, floods, snow and ice have happened every year for us in Lenoir County for at least the past 5 years. Hundreds of our high school students are taking college classes at LCC, and the community college start and end dates are very different from ours. The community college starts very early in August. and ends in May. While this is I think this is a very interesting point to make. While students have not been able to start school until the Monday closest to August 26th, we've always and continued to play fall sports and band beginning August 1st. So we have children on campus beginning the 1st of August. There's much fewer instructional days in the fall semester than are available in the schedule for the spring semester, and that's because of that late start date in August. If we could at least start 2 weeks sooner, it would have a tremendous impact on instruction. There is studies regarding summer learning loss, and that is mentioned in the resolution. The longer the span is in the summer, the more loss of learning occurs. And it also has an impact on child nutrition. This especially impacts our students who are living in poverty, which, as you know, is a large majority of our students. 70% of our students live in poverty. All of our schools are Title I schools, so this is a significant impact. And while our child nutrition department will they set up feeding sites every summer, and they will feed anyone who comes through the doors. Any of us could go in. Anybody can show up at any of our feeding sites in the summer, and you will be fed without question. Not every child can get to those feeding sites, so that is an impact. Makeup days are extremely difficult to schedule and have recently required intervention by the General Assembly. If you remember, the General Assembly came in after Hurricane Florence and waived 20 days that did not have to be made up. Thankfully, unfortunately, we missed 12 days of instruction due to Hurricane Florence, but because of the waiver that came from the General Assembly, we were not required to make up those days. But the waived days, we didn't have to make them up, but it still didn't address the fact that students missed 12 days of instruction. So that is where the rub is. And the actual resolution for your consideration has been attached to your board docs. Pull it up here. And everything that I've covered are the highlights of the resolution. I've covered everything that's here. I don't know if you have any questions. We are asking this be an action item this evening. If the board would be willing to agree to the calendar flexibility resolution, and if you are, we will ask the chairman to sign it, and we will submit it to the General Assembly.
We've already talked to our representatives. We talk to them frequently, to Representative Humphrey and to Senator Perry, and both have expressed positive reactions to this, at least an intention to consider it. Representative Humphrey has already filed a bill on behalf of Lenoir County in this regard. So he's already filed a calendar flexibility bill just for Lenoir County, and that's on file now, but we wanted to go through. We discussed it with them, discussed it with the chair and with the vice chair, and we wanted to go ahead and do this and get this on the record, at least as the board's official request.
Move to approve this proclamation.
So we have a motion to approve by Mr. Anderson, and I believe Mr. Hill. He was quiet, but yeah, Mr. Hill. To approve this. Any questions, any more discussion? I'll call for the vote. All in favor of this resolution, please raise your right hand. All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Send us a copy of that statute.
Our next action item is Mr. Harvey, State Disaster Relief Assistant Disbursement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As Mr. Williams indicated earlier, on Friday afternoon, the Insurance Division of North Carolina Department of Public Instruction awarded Lenoir County Public Schools disaster relief funding. We have also been notified by DPI that LCPS will be receiving additional disaster relief funds. In addition, we are working with the Federal Emergency Relief Agency to complete the evaluation process of all damages to our schools' facilities as we anticipate disbursement of funds from FEMA. We request board approval tonight to use the FEMA and NCDPI relief funding to move forward with repairs at our school facilities. Attached, you will see the State Disaster Relief Assistance Disbursement Timeline. There have been 3 rounds of funding disbursements. The first round, Lenoir County Public Schools was not considered for approval. The state set an arbitrary number of missed days for districts to apply for funding. We did not meet that threshold. I have the days listed from the districts that were considered for approval and the amount in which they received. Round 2, the General Assembly Rainy Day Fund, we were also not considered for approval because of the same restrictions. Once round 3 opened in February of 2019, Lenoir County Public Schools was eligible, did apply, and did receive funding. We missed 11 days of instruction, actually 12 days of instruction. The number is based on the needs assessment at the school and district level. Each school submitted post-storm related needs assessments. Walkthroughs have been completed by LCPS district officials, NCDPI, and FEMA. We have a standing meeting with FEMA every Tuesday at 2 o'clock to update the process. Approval tonight allows the use of funds up to the approved amount to continue project completion.
So the number of days to be considered was how many?
15, or 13,
13?
actually. It was 13.
So those schools were able to receive funds from the lottery fund.
Well, it was a number of days, but it was also that Lenoir County had not received, you had to work through the process and get a final evaluation from DPI, and we had not received that at that point because we were in line behind other counties such as New Hanover and Pender and Craven and Onslow. Onslow was hit particularly hard, and they had 31 schools with standing water. So we were in line behind them, and they already had their final assessment. So we were, I guess if you look at it in a lineup fashion, we were behind them in the queue anyway. But at the end of the road, we wouldn't have been, when we got to the front of the line, we wouldn't have been eligible because of that arbitrary number that they had set it at. And that's another case of our representatives, our local representatives working to advocate on our behalf and get that number changed to, the General Assembly put that in another bill and changed it to 2 weeks, to 10 days. And certainly we met that threshold. So we were eligible for round 3. So when we got the other requirements met, our final evaluation from DPI, and we started the weekly, and those are face-to-face meetings with FEMA here in our office, and they're out in the field walking the schools. And when we started that process, then we got far enough along to apply with round 3, and we were awarded funds to begin.
So you all know my pet peeve is the lottery. So out of the 25 million that was allotted, looks like, North Carolina Lottery Fund, we didn't get considered for that because, like I said, even when we got to the front of the line, it was still only 12 days, didn't make the 13-day threshold. Is that right?
Well, at that point, those were arbitrary parameters that were established, and all involved, I think it sailed through unanimously, all involved said that they did not realize it would have that impact, and that it would actually impact another 7 school systems, and then later an 8th school system. So other counties around us, like Wayne County, that did cut them out, but this brought them back into consideration. Pamlico was another county that was not considered because of that provision. But the bottom line for us is that we're now eligible, and we're going to be able to move forward immediately instead of waiting for what essentially with FEMA is a 6-month to 1 year reimbursement model, and we can move forward with the repairs.
Motion to approve the use of FEMA and NCDPI relief funding to move forward with repairs to our school system facilities.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hill, a second by Mr. Smith. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, very good. Our next action item is our WAN contract. That would be Mr. White.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. So tonight I'm asking the board to approve the contract for the wide area network services. Per federal E-rate guidelines, Lenoir County Public Schools has filed for a request for proposals and received multiple vendor bids. Each proposal was individually scored against our main rubric, with the final recommendation being presented tonight. This represents many factors, including the highest scoring vendor with the lowest combined cost of services and hardware. Due to the federal deadlines, I'm asking that the board approve the contract tonight, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
If I could just add to that too, that we are up against a deadline for when this needs to be submitted in order to be eligible for E-rate. So Mr. White and I have been chatting quite a bit the last few days. What I ask is that this be approved pending approval of the superintendent and board attorney, because we're still negotiating some of the terms of the contract to get some necessary language in there for your benefit. So you approve that tonight, and it allows us to get the contract moving forward.
Is this any different than what we already have?
No, sir.
Motion to approve.
Pending
Pending.
approval of superintendent and board attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Hill.
Second.
Second by Mr. Smith. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All right, thank you. One last action item, our out-of-state school field trip, Mrs. Herring.
Yes, sir. This evening, we have a request from Northeast Elementary School. They would like to visit Washington, D.C. April the 10th. It's a one-day trip. They want to visit the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture and the Washington Monument. They request permission to leave the state to do that. They'll be traveling by charter bus. They're using Goldsboro Bus Company. And of course, anytime you use a charter bus, our transportation director is on site before the bus leaves the campus after he inspects it and approves that it can roll.
Glad you clarified the monument, because I had no idea what that, I knew.
The monument.
It didn't say
It does
Washington.
just say the monument. It is the Washington Monument. It's located very close
Thank
to
you.
D.C.
They're gonna do all that in one day.
It's going to be a long day.
They're gonna be
It's a
exhausted.
long day.
They're gonna be exhausted. I thought the same thing.
Yes.
Entertain a
They'll be
motion
leaving at 5
to
a.m.
approve our out-of-state school field trip.
Move to approve.
Mr. Smith,
Second.
second by Mr. Davis. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you. Now we'll entertain a motion to go into closed session.
I move that the Lenoir County Board of Education go into closed session under North Carolina General Statute 143-318-2011 to prevent the disclosure of confidential personnel files, to consult with the board's attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege, and to consider matters relating to initial employment of an individual employee.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. I have a second. Second by Mr. Bogan. All in favor, please raise your right hand. All right, Lenoir County Board of Education is now in closed session. Back into open session. And I will ask for a motion to approve the personnel report.
Move to approve the personnel report with bid then. Second.
Mr. Smith and Mr. Davis. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? All right. I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So move.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Second.
Second by Mr. Smith. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay, thank you.
We are.
Thank you, John.